breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Good morning from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. We've got an excellent podcast for you as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by a good friend of mine. We're chatting it up with Chris Cichon of WBAL in Baltimore. For the Orioles, they entered into the day on Monday with a forgotten streak, the second longest in all of baseball. They had won 7 straight games before we saw a thriller on Monday. What's the outlook for the Orioles right now? How do we take a look at this wild and crazy American League and so much more in the final segment? I'm going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Tuesday as we touch them all. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways we fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, Larry on the name does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Well, I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today. We had ourselves a fun day of baseball on Monday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The Red Sox just keep finding a way. 6-5, they take down the Baltimore Orioles. As for Peyton Tolley, he does get lit up in this game. 4 runs allowed in 5 2/3 innings as he was taken deep by Christian Encarnacion Strand. His first home run of the campaign. From there, Teran Guerrero gives up a run in 1 1/3 innings, but Garrett Woodlock, Aroldis Chapman, scoreless 8th and 9th innings. And for the Baltimore Orioles, the Wizard of Oz, not a lot of sorcery here. 4 runs, 2 of which were earned, give it up in 6 innings. And what killed the Orioles is that Boz had an error, but there were 4 errors in total in this game. Yunier Cano, don't you know? He gave up a run in 2/3 of an inning. Tyler Wells, he did not pitch Wells. He gave up a run in his 1 1/3 innings with Caleb Durbin in the 8th inning, coming up with a big home run. He has been a disappointment all season long, but in this game, he gets his 10th home run of the campaign. So the Red Sox, they find a way to be able to get the job done out there. Also being able to get the job done, the Tampa Bay Rays, after they got swept by the Boston Red Sox 7-1. They take down the Toronto Blue Jays. Dylan Cease, more like cease and desist. 5 runs, 3 of which were earned, give it up in 6 innings, and he was taken deep twice as you had Cedric Mullins get his 12th home run of the campaign, Victor Mesa Jr.'s 8th, and then Nick Fortes off of Brandon Little, his 3rd home run of the campaign. As Little comes up Little there, gives up a home run in 2 innings of work. Braden Fisher, unearned run, give it up in his inning of work. And for the Blue Jays, 3 errors in this game, though Dylan Cease was hurt by his own error, and Nick Martinez continues to be a master of soft contact. 1 run allowed over the course of 6 innings. Cam Boozer, Casey Lugumina, Brian Baker, they're all able to score scoreless innings. For the Minnesota Twins, they do not score a win. They get blown out by the Guardians 13-4 the final. Guardians had scored about 3.5 runs per game in their last 37 games, and Joe Ryan gets lit up like a Christmas tree. He gives up not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6 home runs. 8 runs in total over the course of 4 innings. You had from there Cody Funderburk give up a run in an inning. Tommy Nance gives up a run in an inning. You had the backup catcher and Andrew Jackson give you a scoreless inning, but Woo Suk Go, he gives up a solo home run in his inning of work, as well as for the Guardians, a team that has really not been giving a whole heck of a lot of offense in general. Well, Rhys Hoskins was able to go deep. His 10th and 11th home runs of the campaign. Patrick Bailey, his 4th home run of the season. Petey Alpin entered in this game with 0 home runs. He left with 2. Travis Bazzana, his 9th home run of the season. You had Brian Rocchio get his 9th home run of the campaign. And Tanner Bybee, 2 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings. Colin Olderman gives up a run in an inning. Matt Festa, a run in an inning. And John Armstrong, scoreless 9th inning. So the Guardians, they get back to 53-48. So now they're rocking and rolling. Also rocking and rolling, the Atlanta Braves, 3-2. They take down the San Diego Padres. JP Sears, not bad in this game. 2 runs, 1 of which was earned. He does give up a home run to Michael Harris, his 18th home run of the campaign. Then Albies, 15th home run of the campaign. That comes off of Wandy Peralta, gives up that home run in his inning work. Bradley Rodriguez, a scoreless inning. Kyle Hart, he was able to give you a scoreless inning. And Bryce Elder, not elderly, he gives up 2 runs in 6 innings. Those 2 runs, solo bombs. Manny Machado, 20th home run of the season. Ty France, 15th home run of the season, but you had Danny Young give you a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. And Victor Medeiros has been a nice find. Sub 1 ERA, 2 1/3 inning scoreless to be able to close that one out. Also being able to close out, the Philadelphia Phillies, 10-7, they take down the LA Dodgers. Dodgers who put up a 3 spot in the 9th inning to make it a little bit more respectable. And Christopher Sanchez does give up 3 runs in 5 1/3 innings. Ryan Kerkering, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless, but Emmett Sheehan really gave this one away. 6 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings. He was taken deep by Trey Turner down for his 13th home run of the campaign. And then you also had Brandon Marsh get his 16th home run of the season. Landon Knack gives up home run to Bryce Harper, 21st of the campaign, and Derek Hill, his 8th for Knack, gives up those 2 home runs in 2 innings of work. Alex Vesia, 2 runs allowed in 2/3 of an inning. Meanwhile, for the Phillies bullpen, Jose Alvarado, scoreless inning. Jonathan Bolin does give up a home run in his inning work. Mookie Betts, 12th home run season, and Betts would go deep off of Chase Shogurt as well, 13th home run season. He's starting to turn it around. Shogurt, 3 runs allowed in 2/3 of an inning. Yohan Aran got the final out to be able to close it out, but good win for the Philadelphia Phillies, now 56-45. The Chicago White Sox, they continue to win 53-46 for these guys. Rangers back to 500, 10-3 the final. Jacob deGrom, he gives up 5 runs in 4 2/3 innings. No home runs, by the way. The White Sox, 6 of 16 with men in scoring position. Peyton Gray gives 1 1/3 innings scoreless. The People, Brandon Peoples, along with Robbie Elstrom, both give you a scoreless inning, and this was disastrous. Jose Cornelli, he comes in and he gives up 5 runs in his inning work. Eric Fetty does not get whopped. 2 runs allowed over the course of 4 innings. Does give up home run to Jock Peterson, 17th home run season. Then matching that, Jake Berger, 17th home run season, off of Sir Anthony Dominguez, who gives up that home run in his inning work. But Chris Murphy, Jordan Nix, they combine for 2 shutout innings. Sean Newcomb and Trevor Richards, they're both able to score a scoreless inning of their own, being able to get the job done as well. How about the Kansas City Royals, 4-3? It's been rough for them. It's been rough for the Giants as well, 2 of the worst teams in all of baseball. And for Michael Wacha, I think that the team had been like 1-9 in his last 10 starts. Gives up just a home run in his 6 innings of work, taken deep by Eloy Ramos, his 9th home run of the campaign. And then Willie Adames, he does get his 18th home run of the season. Too little, too late. That comes off of Alex Lang in the 9th inning, who gives up 2 runs over the course of his inning of work. Steven Cruz and Daniel Lynch, they're both able to give you a scoreless inning. Meanwhile, for Trevor Old McDonald, he gives up 3 runs over the course of 4 innings, including a home run. Salvador Perez starting to pick it up a little bit. His 13th home run of the campaign. The rest of the bullpen was pretty solid. J.G. Brubaker, 2 1/3 innings scoreless. Dylan Smith, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Jason Folia scoreless inning, and then Caleb Killian gives it up in the 9th inning. Nick Lofton, a bunt single to end the game. So Royals, they find a way to be able to get that one to the window. The return to Milwaukee for Freddie Peralta, not what he was hoping for. 8-3, the Milwaukee Brewers get the job done. Peralta fills 5 1/3 innings, gives up 7 runs, all of which were earned. He has now given up 30 runs in his last 6 starts, and he was cranked deep twice in this game as Andrew Vaughn, his 3rd home run in the campaign. And then you had Cooper Pratt, his 1st career MLB home run. Joey Ortiz a little bit later on, he gets his 5th home run in the campaign off of Xavier Curry, who gives up that home run in 2 2/3 innings. He inherited a few runners from Peralta. The Miz, Jacob Mizorowski, only goes 65 pitches in this game, a little bit precautionary. 6 punch-outs and an unearned run, give it up as Andrew Vaughn had an error out there in the field. Lance McCullers Jr., newly acquired, he gives up 2 runs in 3 innings. Craig Yoho, Grant Anderson, they both turn a scoreless inning. Brewers now 33-18 at home thus far this season. And Houston, no problems in this game. The Astros, they get a 8-5 win against the Miami Marlins as Jansen Junk lives up to his name. He gives up 6 runs over the course of 4 innings, including a pair of home runs. Meanwhile, you also had Lake Picard giving up a home run in his inning work. Jordan Alvarez, he gets home runs number 32 and 33 of the campaign. Jeremy Pena, he's able to go deep for home run number 7 of the campaign. You did have 3 innings with just 1 run given up by Dax Fulton, but by then it had been a little bit too little too late. And Ronald Blanco, in his first start of the season, well, this was not necessarily his sharpest start, gives up a pair of home runs, 4 runs in total over the course of 4 2/3 innings. Liam Hicks, 14th home run of the season. Then you had Joe Mack get his 8th home run of the season. Bullpen from there pretty solid. Josh Hader does give up a run in an inning, non-save situation. Stephen Oker, Brian Abreu, they both give you a scoreless inning. And Daniel De Los Santos, he was able to come in. He gets 4 outside the bullpen scoreless of his own. The Washington Nationals, they take it to the Colorado Rockies, 7-3, the final. As for C.J. Abrams, he gets his 22nd home run in the campaign. That comes off of Antonio Senzatella. As for Kyle Freeland, 4 runs given up in his 6 innings. He gives up a pair of bombs himself. Andre Shapiro, 4th home run of the season. Then home run number 9 of the campaign for Jacob Young. Meanwhile, for Senzatella, gives up those 2 runs in his inning of work, including that bomb. Juan Mejia, scoreless inning. Victor Vodnik gives up a run in an inning. And Andrew Alvarez, not long for this game, 3 runs allowed in 4 1/3 innings. But a Washington Nationals Orioles bullpen that has not been so great, to say the least. Well, they were pretty solid on this night. How about a pair of scoreless innings from Tom Crossgrove? Matt Crook was not crooked. He gives you a scoreless inning. Riley Cornelio, he was able to come in 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless, so a total of 4 2/3 innings scoreless for this bullpen. For the Chicago Cubs, they peter out in extra innings against the Detroit Tigers as they use 8 pitchers in this game, 8-6 the final. For the Tigers, Captain Jack Flaherty, well, he was captain of the SS, giving up a pair of home runs as he was cranked deep by Michael Busch, 13th home run of the season. Seiya Suzuki, his 16th. Ian Happ, a little bit later on off of Kyle Finnegan, would also get his 18th home run season. As for Flaherty, 3 runs allowed in 4 innings. Drew Summers and Jacob Ogie's pack both give you 4 outs out the bullpen scoreless. Kyle Finnegan gives up 2 runs in 1 1/3 innings, but Kenley Jansen is scoreless inning, and then Tyler Holton gives up an unearned run in the 10th, but too little too late out there. And then with the Cubs, you had James Cichon give up 4 runs in 4 1/3 innings. He was taken deep twice in this one. Riley Green, he gets his 15th home run season. Dylan Dingler, his 20th. And then Dingler gets his 21st as Tyler Ferguson gives up a solo home run in his inning of work. Ryan Rolson, 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Gavin Hollowell, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Caleb Theobar, he gives you an out scoreless. And then you had Jacob Webb be able to give you a scoreless inning. But then you had Trent Thornton give up 2 runs, one of which was earned, was not able to get a single out in the 10th inning. And then Javier Assad, he gives up an unearned run in the 10th inning, as well as there was a Nico Horner throwing error that costed him out there. For the Seattle Mariners, they were on to Cincinnati, and they were on to getting an 8-0 win over Cincinnati. As for the Redlegs, they just were unable to get anything off of George Kirby. 6 shutout innings. Nick Davia, Chris Wilcox, and Michael Rucker all give you a scoreless inning. Andrew Abbott, unearned run, give it up in 6 innings. Pierce Johnson gives up a 4 spot in a third of an inning, and then Caleb Ferguson, he gives up a pair of runs, as well as Cal Raleigh, who's struggled all season long. The big dumper with a grand slam, 10th home run of the campaign. Chase Petty, nothing petty here. He was able to give you a shutout inning, but too little too late there for the St. Louis Cardinals. They blow it against the LA Angels. 3-2, the Angels get the job done. Jose Soriano gives up 2 runs over the course of 7 innings, and then Sammy Natera, Jose Fermin, both led a scoreless inning. Kyle Leahy was very solid here. He gives up a solo home run in his 6 innings of work as Joe Adell sets fire to the rain, 14th home run season. Ryan Stanek, George Soriano both give you a scoreless inning, and then Riley O'Brien gives up the 2-1 lead in the 9th inning as Joe Adell, he wins the game on a hit by pitch. So he had a home run and he had a hit by pitch to be able to get this one in. And then wrapping things up, the Arizona Diamondbacks, they fall to the Athletics by a count of 5-2 as for the Athletics got into a little bit of a sticky bind in the 9th inning after Jeffrey Springs. Good start here. 2 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. Was cranked deep by Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte, his 18th home run of the campaign. And then from there, Luis Medina, 2 shutout innings. Jose Suarez, a scoreless inning. And then you had Hogan Harris, be more like Hogan Hero. He was able to give you a scoreless inning. The Brat, Mitch Bratt, this was not what he was looking for. He gives up a pair of home runs in 4 2/3 innings. Fortunately, both were of the solo variety. Jacob Olson, 6th home run of the season. And then you had Joshua Kodura Guerre, hopefully I got that correct. That is a hard last name to say, but he got his first career home run, so yay, verily there. From there, you had Kevin Ginkel give up 3 runs over the course of his inning of work. Juan Burgos, he was able to go 1 1/3 inning scoreless. Jonathan Weisga, Braden Garcia, they both led a scoreless inning as well, but too little too late out there. And if you're taking a look at trend-wise, what we're getting in Major League Baseball, it has been an overwhelming season for the most part, but now the unders, they are making a comeback. 735 overs, 732 unders, and quite a few pushes along the way. If my math serves me correct, we've had 37 pushes now, and favorites on the money line, they're hitting at about 56.2%, 820 and 640 on the money line, but among those 820 favorites, you have seen 192 fail to cover the run line. Meanwhile, if you look at the last 7 days in Major League Baseball, ever since the All-Star break, 28 overs, 28 unders, and 3 pushes along the way, with favorites sitting at about 57% on the money line, 32 and 25. So with that loss, the Arizona Diamondbacks are back below 57%, and we have seen 8 of those favorites not cover the run line. Want to go a little bit deeper? Last 30 days, 166 overs, 189 unders, and along the way, I believe we've had 10 pushes, so that is over 53.2% to the under. Meanwhile, favorites on the money line hitting at about 58 or so percent, 203 and 146, and among those 203 favorites, we have seen 48 fail to cover the run line. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's where we're all getting trend-wise. Coming next, how about if we do chat it up with one of our good friends, Chris Cichon, over there at WBAL Baltimore, right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the Beast and Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man as we've got Chris Cichon aboard. He does such great work over at WBAL in Baltimore, taking a look at a little bit of everything out there. If you need the Ravens and Orioles happenings, he's got you covered. If you need a little bit of the political scene, he's got you covered there. He's a five-tool man doing such a great job taking a look at a little bit of everything out there in Charm City and so much more. You're able to follow him on Twitter/X at The Big Cheese Show. That is CHEE on Chi before show. And Chris, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Greg, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, good vibes here over the past few days in the Baltimore area in terms of at least the Ravens and Orioles. Ravens season upon them, and the Ravens legend Ray Lewis coming out with Morgan Wallen at M&T Bank Stadium this past weekend. That was quite the scene, apparently. I was not there. And yeah, the Orioles ending the All-Star break strong and then coming out and certainly putting out a nice effort against a Houston Astros team, getting a sweep there on the road. So yeah, the Orioles right now, when they were looking like they were going to be sellers, I think right now probably more likely buyers when the deadline comes about.
Absolutely, and I feel like I told you this on this podcast a few times because the Orioles, a lot of times when you joined me, they were looking shaky, but with the way that the American League is set up, everyone is still alive. And just how do you take a look at this landscape in general before we dive in on the Orioles? Because I cannot remember seeing a league just so weak, and we're less than 2 weeks away from the trade deadline. And aside from the Royals and the Angels, I feel like any of these teams could be buyers right now because one good 10-game stretch puts you right back in the middle of the playoff picture, as we found out with the Red Sox and the Orioles.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And the Red Sox, what an amazing story they've got going on coming into Monday night, that winning streak. The last time they had accomplished something like that, Ted Williams was on the roster. So, it was a team that was going through a bit of a mini implosion when they were getting rid of Alex Cora. A lot of question marks as far as that move is concerned and what they were thinking there. But it's been a Boston team that has gotten a lot of production during this stretch out of a guy like Wilyer Abreu, who had a couple of multi-homer game efforts. Their pitching staff, and they're not even doing it, with the guys that they necessarily thought were going to be the horses of that rotation. Ranger Suarez has been hurt. It's been guys like, Sonny Gray, who's been stepping up, having a good start. Peyton Tolley, who's been doing a pretty good job there in Boston. So team two that, even with Jarren Duran not necessarily hitting for a great average, Boston's been able to string together some wins. Huge series here in Baltimore this Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Then this is a big test for the Orioles too, because as great as their stretch was, they swept the Royals, one of the worst teams in baseball, and the Astros certainly is a team that is struggling right now. Coming into that series as well, they weren't playing their best baseball. The Astros just, they used to be a team that you'd think about and it would be pitching. And now it's like you can't really point to a starter that you really would feel that great about. Even a guy like Hunter Brown isn't all that pitching all that well. Arrighetti has been inconsistent. So, yeah, it's not Pierre Lambert. That's not necessarily somebody that I would want to go out every fifth day and think that I'm going to get a W every time. So, yeah, the Astros haven't been all that strong. I know that you've talked about the Rangers quite a bit, and I think that's a team that could surge here, and they're benefiting playing in an American League West that's a little bit all combined with them and the Mariners. They're battling back and forth to see who's going to be the top team in that division. I'm not all that impressed with anybody in the American League Central. Just I know the White Sox are a nice story. They've got some nice young pieces, nice hitters, but I think they're just a little bit not probably deep enough from a pitching staff rotation and a lineup standpoint. The Rays, a team, they had that terrible losing streak, and they were severely outplayed by the Boston Red Sox, but they had themselves a nice start, I know, on Monday, taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. You had Cedric Mullins hitting a home run. Yandy Diaz, who admitted that he said that he just felt, I won't use the entirety of the curse word, but he did use an expletive with how was describing the way he felt after the series against Boston. And this is a guy who had been massively consistent all year, but he was like something like 1 for 16. So yeah, Yandy Diaz not exactly doing all that well, but yeah, when taking on this Blue Jays team, a massive series for Toronto because they are thinking to themselves, can we stay in the mix in the wild card, or are we going to have to be sellers? And it's looking more and more like probably Toronto, is not going to be a team that is going to be probably buyers at the deadline, even though they just represented the American League in the World Series. It's just, coming back from 7-8 games down 500 in less than 2 weeks to go to the trade deadline. That's not exactly where you want to be if you're the Blue Jays. And I don't know that necessarily their rotation. You look at that and you say, this is, Gossman's been a little bit inconsistent. Trey Savage, he pitched decently last time out, but the time prior, he got hit really hard. Houston is the one team. I know they just got swept by the Orioles, but still, they have one of the best hitters in baseball in Yordan Alvarez. If they can get that lineup, I know Jeremy Pena just hit a home run on Monday. If they can get back to really like just score as many runs as they can maybe hang in there in terms of the wild card race. But again, it's just their pitching and their Josh Hader. If they end up falling out, though, that's got to be the trade piece for them because I think they can get a nice little haul and maybe get some starting pitching back there. And then last but not least, talking about the Yankees, big win for them Sunday night against the Dodgers. But, without Aaron Judge, this offense has been pretty anemic. I think you've mentioned it on social media. And when Cam Schlitter's getting blown up, that just doesn't spell well for their chances. But right there in terms of the division with the Rays faltering as of late.
Yep, it has been really interesting to take a look at some of these teams in the American League. Heck, the Minnesota Twins, they're getting back Byron Buxton. Could they be a team that is above 500 at the time of the trade deadline as well? It's Chris Cichon, who does such great work over at WBAL in Baltimore, joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And Chris, as we both know, things were looking a little bit grim for the Baltimore Orioles prior to this run. We are doing this as the game is in the balance on Monday. Right now, it's actually tied as we're doing this, so they might be on 8 straight wins. They might be 7-1 in their last 8 when this comes out. But what has really been the key for the Orioles turning things around? Because it's been an up and down season for them. You know as well as I do, lots of young talent on this roster. It just seems to be all coming together at the same time.
Yeah, and we've been waiting on this a little bit here in Baltimore for these guys to kind of all been playing consistent baseball. All the pieces seem to be there. Adley Rutschman hitting the injured list is certainly not something that you wanted right now. The team's lone all-star, and now he's hurt, dealing with wrist inflammation. So it remains to be seen how that's going to go. And Samuel Basallo is a nice player, power bat, but hitting in terms of average and OBP, and it's, he's a young player. We're about to enter the really true dog days of summer. How's his body going to hold up? He's been fine thus far, but this is a team that's winning ball games without Gunnar Henderson playing well. He looks like he's pressing. I think he would probably admit such a thing, that he's just, trying too hard. This is a team that is getting some big time help out of Taylor Ward, who, moved down to the third spot. Not necessarily the power bat. That's where you're getting it from a guy like Pete Alonso, who by all intents and purposes has, gone through stretches maybe where he hasn't gotten on base, but I think everybody here is satisfied with the results thus far with Pete Alonso. You have guys like Tyler O'Neill, who has been by and large a disappointment, but he does come through with a big-time home run every now and then. And we, saw him driving a couple of runs here on Monday night. Kobe Mayo hits too low of a batting average, but has the power. And so, Leotis Taveras, that's another guy I want to mention too, because he's been somebody who's really brought a lot to the table. Earlier in the season, I know his average is now down around 240, but somebody certainly that. And then we just saw Encarnacion Strand, just recently hitting a home run here, his first of the season. So, yeah, was a big-time hit off Peyton Tolley on Monday night. There's a lot of good bats that I just mentioned here, but it's just about them playing consistently and all together. The key to the Orioles and their success, 4 out of their 5 starters, basically they go out and they're pitching well. Brandon Young, this was a guy, how his turnaround has happened has been fascinating. He was one of the worst pitchers that made a major league appearance last year statistically. Now up to 8 wins, really looked strong in his last outing, pitching back at home in front of his family in Houston. And he's able to really dot corners, hitting 96. He struck out Yordan Alvarez looking, I remember at one point, and Alvarez just looked absolutely fooled. And Jim Palmer was certainly complimentary of his four-seam stuff, being able to locate the pitches there and have a little bit of movement too. So, yeah, Young's been good. And Kyle Bradish, getting that deal, 5 years, $90 million. He's had a turnaround from the beginning of the season where he wasn't missing a whole lot of bats. He's been a nice story. coming over here from a couple of years ago in a trade, and he has sort of blossomed. One of the pitching, I guess, guys who came about in the system that Michael Elias has developed. He's been criticized quite a bit for not necessarily being the best in terms of developing pitching. So, yeah, this is an Orioles bunch. It's Shane Baz. He probably hasn't been good enough for this team, shows the flashes, strikes guys out. But, I mean, it's just been inconsistent. We know that the Red Sox and the Orioles played to a 5-5 game Monday at least. That's not shutting down the Red Sox lineup, albeit they're one of the hottest teams in baseball, sure. But, yeah, then it comes down to, who I haven't mentioned, Trevor Rogers. It's basically been start after start after start. This guy is absolutely limiting damage and giving his team a chance to win. This was their opening day starter, and he was a guy that was mentioned, I think, only a couple of weeks ago when we were talking trades. Jeff Passan mentioned him being a player that could be traded because the fact that he's going to be a free agent at the end of this year. And I know that that's something that this team does not want to do right now, given how he's looked. And, he's a big piece, 6'5", he's 230, 28. I mean, he's been kind of primed his career. And one last thing I'll lead off, Andrew Kittredge, he looked like he had been struggling, but he came out several outings without allowing any sort of damage as far as runs are given up. I mean, it's not always the prettiest with Kittredge, and I'd say the same thing about Tyler Wells, but, he's another big pitcher, righty, 6'8", 270, pitching out of the bullpen now. I think that's the right move for him. And, you have your kind of sprinklings there with guys like Nunez and Rico Garcia and Yanier Cano. Yeah, I think put it all together, and right now this team is doing just enough. It's just all about this upcoming schedule. I mean, the Red Sox, then you've got the Braves at home, granted, the Tigers. We're talking about the American League and some of the hot teams. I didn't even mention Detroit and how strong they've played as of late. And, they're getting it up, staying in the race, and will be, there was talk about potentially moving Tariq Skubal, but are you really going to do that now? I don't know. I think you got to kind of just push your chips in if you're Detroit, try to make a move with the wild card. And then the Orioles, the following weekend to wrap up July, hosting Philadelphia. That's not going to be easy. There's going to be a lot of Phillies fans in town, I'm sure. And so, yeah, this is the stretch right now. What do you do if you're the Orioles? You got to win these ball games right now. And Michael Elias, I'm not saying his job, I think, is on the line. But he's feeling the pressure. I think he's certainly going to want to buy more so than he's going to want to sell, given that this team has had so little success in the playoffs, no success in the playoffs, that is, have not won a playoff game in his tenure.
Yep, and it's going to be really interesting to see what happens here in the next few weeks, not just with the Orioles, not just with the Red Sox, but all across the AL East. And let me pose this question to you, because coming into the day on Monday, we did see the Yankees 1.5 games back of the Tampa Bay Rays, who they take that series sweep against the Boston Red Sox, so they are coming off a little bit of a rough one. Is this going to be the divisional race that we were all hoping for? Because Baltimore's coming on strong. The Red Sox are coming on very strong. Rays seem to be floundering a little bit. And for the New York Yankees, they've been floundering a little bit too.
Yeah, I think we're going to be getting right down to the wire ourselves. A great race. I mean, at least in terms of the Yankees and the Rays. I mean, we've seen that over the course of the past few years. Those two teams, not so much last year. Tampa Bay sort of floundered, and they did not have the pitching staff to sustain any sort of major success. But, yeah, I think we are going to be seeing a great race down the way, with the Yankees needing to get some health in their rotation fully. But the Rays have a 4-game series against Toronto. Then they host Cleveland. That's another team I made kind of no mention of when we were discussing some playoff possibilities. I mean, Cleveland, if they can get, guys like Tanner Bybee to pitch consistently every fifth day, Stephen Kwan, I was just looking at some of the numbers there. Nobody has a better line drive percentage in baseball than Stephen Kwan. Like, he's not going to hit home runs all day, but leading off the top of there, if he goes 2 for 4 pretty much almost every other night, you'll be happy with those results, especially with no Jose Ramirez there. They're still finding ways to win there in Cleveland. So that should be an interesting one. And then Texas. And so the Rays really, I mean, they have a major homestand as I'm looking at it here now. 3 against Cleveland, 3 against Texas, 3 against the White Sox, all coming into the Trop. Those are 3 playoff potential teams. The Rangers, as much as I think that they can be a strong team from an offensive standpoint, we just saw Nathan Eovaldi get pretty lit up the other night in his last start. I was a little bit surprised to see that against the Braves. Admittedly, I know the Braves are one of the best teams in baseball. Obviously, entering Monday, they were 16 games above 500. But to see Nathan Eovaldi now with a 4.21 ERA basically implode there, that was not something I was totally expecting. And, the Rangers, I am a fan of Jock Peterson, watching him throughout his entirety of his career. But, hitting leadoff there, is that necessarily the right strategy? I don't know. Maybe baseball analytics tell us that, guys that are in their 30s now who are basically just DHing at this point, he's having himself a nice year, no doubt. But I do look at this Rangers lineup here a little bit. They might need another bat because Brandon Nimmo batting in the cleanup spot. He's never been necessarily known as a major power bat. Jake Berger, I like what he can bring to the table as well. But yeah, they probably need a little bit more depth, not only in their lineup, but probably in their bullpen as well. But I can say that about every team with the bullpen. That's where you pretty much start if you're looking to make a quick fix. And being here in the DMV area, we're talking American League, but I've targeted against the Nationals. I used to be in DC, their bullpen, and that's helped me out quite a bit here. And the Nationals could score quite a few runs too. I think I followed you the other day when they were taking on the Athletics, and you were on the over, and they won 23-4. So yeah, just switching gears to talk Nationals a little bit. They've made me a little bit of money. But yeah, we're talking about the Orioles and their stretch in the American League East. I still think, given that the Rays entered Monday a game and a half up over the Yankees, that they've got Shane McClanahan, Nick Martinez, the all-star. Think that these relievers are going to start getting a little bit better here. We know Brian Baker was an all-star reliever, and then Griffin Jacks that converted into a starter now. Ian Seymour was bad in his last start, but I think when we're looking at the entirety of this Rays team, I think that they just get over the finish line. They finish first in the American League East, and I know Judge, one of the last updates was that he was feeling better, but there was no real timeline. As long as he's out, it's hard for me to say that the Yankees are going to overtake the Rays in this division. I don't know that they necessarily, I know Paul Goldschmidt and Cody Bellinger and these guys, they have some of the veteran bats, but I just watched Anthony Volpe at the plate the other day. Bases loaded, big spot. Here's his opportunity, and he gets struck out by the Dodgers. I just don't know that the Yankees have enough depth and offensive power to sustain a run. And Jazz Chisholm, I know he just delivered the other night, big-time home run, but, is his play consistent enough for the Yankees to make any sort of deep run? I'm not so sure.
Yep, it has been so interesting what we've been seeing here over the last few weeks in the American League East, and I'm right there with you. For the Yankees entering into Monday, and they had a nice explosion on Monday, but last 23 games, they were averaging about 3.3 runs per game. That's just not cut it. A man that always cuts it, and as a matter of fact, he does more than cut it. He does an absolutely amazing job. That'd be you, Chris. You're doing a great job looking at all the happenings out there in Baltimore, and so much more. So let the good people at home know it's all on tap for you, and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
At the Big Cheese Show on X, Big Cheese Show on Instagram. If you follow there, WBAL has us doing, like you, Greg, you know how it is now. We live online, and the people want, apparently, according to some of the numbers, at least they show, they want us to be doing these videos. So yeah, you'll see my face on Instagram doing some of the news stories across Baltimore, but hopefully more Ravens and Orioles stories moving forward, because admittedly, that's where the fun is when it comes to the news. And that's where the ratings are when the sports teams are doing good here. So hopefully the Orioles and Ravens keep it up, and hopefully you keep asking me to come on, Greg, because I love joining you. Thank you for having me.
And we love having you, Chris. Chris is doing such an incredible job taking a look at what we're all getting right now in Charm City. This has been a great run for the Orioles. And we've got a great American League in general. Lots of mediocrity, but it makes for a lot of fun. Chris, he's got a front row seat to it all. So a big thanks to Chris for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Coming up next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Tuesday as we catch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by Chris Cichon. He does such great work over at WBAL in Baltimore. take a look at everything out there in Charm City, whether that be the news happenings, the Baltimore Orioles, the great game of baseball, list goes on and on, obviously the Ravens as well. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights, did so once again today. So big thanks to Chris for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Tuesday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at gunit_D1, and we are going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first in time order, then the American League games in time order. Any interleague games, those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. So let's get things started. This is 9:51, 9:52 on the card. The Dodgers are going to be on the road against the Philadelphia Phillies. Zach Whelan and Nealon Wheeler is on the bump for the Phils. Justin Robleski is going to be going for the LA Dodgers. Total on this game, it is 8.5, over and under both at -110. -135 is that number on the Phillies. Between +113 to a +116 is that number on the Dodgers. And I'm going to be willing to lay with Phillies. I did set them as a favorite here, more around a -147. For Robleski, he's been able to do a nice job in terms of inducing soft contact. You do have to wonder if the lack of strikeouts is going to be catching up with him a little bit. He was pretty solid in the All-Star game, 2.69 ERA, but fielding depends more around about a 3.37. 0.7 home runs, 1.8 walks per 9 innings, so he's doing a great job of not hurting himself. Still, though, only about 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, and now he faces off against a Phillies team that can be a little bit all or nothing. Kyle Schwarber, he has struck out 100 billion times this far this season, but he's been able to give you 33-plus home runs. He's been able to give you about a 360 or so on base. Bryce Harper, 20-plus bombs. He's up over a 360 on base. And then you've had Brandon Marsh be able to darn near 300. He's been able to give you 15-plus bombs. The likes of a Trey Turner, Alec Boehm, they've been cold to start the season. Bryson Stott, but they've been able to pick it up a little bit. So are getting absolutely nothing out of the outfield with the likes of Gabriel Racones. Whenever Adolis Garcia's been out there, I'm pretty sure he's still out due to injury. Those guys have not been great, to say the least. In the catcher spot, JT Realmuto has not been good, but still, the offense has been improved, and when they've been at home, the Phillies have been much better with regards to this offense. When they've been away from them, they have been third worst with about 3.9 runs per game, about 4.8 runs per game at home, and Dodgers average 5.9 runs per game away from home. That is numero uno in all of baseball. Shohei Ohtani is dealing with that leg injury. Shouldn't affect him too much at the plate. Certainly, it's going to be affecting him when it comes to his pitching, as he's out of the fold right now for them. But hey, you've been able to get some really good production out of the likes of Freddie Freeman, Andy Paz, Max Muncy, all between about 15 to 18 home runs. All three of these guys hitting above at 265. Mookie Betts, after a really rough start to the season, he's been able to pick it up a little bit. Even a guy like an Alex Call's been moved line. It's been a little bit rough for Teoscar Hernandez, and with the Dodgers, they do have the better bullpen in this game, but still have Blake Trine currently on the injury list. They should be getting Edwin Diaz back soon, but that will not be in this series. You've got likes of Brock and Roll Stewart, Tanner Scott, Will Klein. These guys have been able to give you a sub 350 ERA, but we have seen Kyle Hurt have his issues as well. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, very top-heavy bullpen as Orion Kirk, Ringo Anderon. These guys have been able to give you a sub 3 ERA, but Jose Alvarado's been rough. Tim Meza has been okay for this team, but you do have to have your question marks with some of these other guys. But for Zach Wheeler, after he wasn't getting a lot of strikeouts to begin the season, that's now fully back for him. He's been getting about 10.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, down to less than a home run per 9 innings, only giving up about 2.2 walks per 9 as well. He has been tremendous, and I think that he goes out there, gets the job done here. So semi-total at 8.2, like the 8 after the under, one lay up to -146 on the Phillies. 9:53, 9:54 on the card. The Padres are going to be on the road against the Braves. Reynaldo Lopez is on the bump for the Bravos, and Walker Buehler for the Padres. Padres between +112 to a +125 underdogs, -132 to a -150. Then around Atlanta, 9 is the total. The over is -110 to a -120. Under is between even and -110, and I'm in on the under. I did semi-total at an 8.8. For Walker Buehler, I feel like he's pitched better than what the ERA would indicate. It's been an awful season for him, but still, I don't think they should be reporting in with his ERA as high as it is right now. He is applying about a 5.36 ERA, but still, the fielding independence of 4.35, 1.2 home runs allowed per 9 innings, a little bit over 8 strikeouts per 9, and then on the flip side, Reynaldo Lopez, it's been a case where he's been giving out a few more walks than what you'd like. He's right now got a 3.50 ERA, but 3.6 walks, 7.9 strikeouts per 9 innings for a 4.30 fielding independent, but still have a Braves team that currently leads the National League in terms of bullpen ERA. You've had the Dylan Lee, Dylan Dobb, both be able to give you a sub-3 ERA. They are dealing with Robert Suarez, a former Padre, dealing with an injury, but Mauricio Iglesias continues to be solid for this team. Tyler Kinley has acted up a little bit, but overall it's a very well-rounded bullpen, and for the Atlanta Braves, they do average just a little bit less with their offense when they're at home rather than away from home. You do have a ton of matchers for this team. Michael Harris, Drake Baldwin, both of these guys hitting above a 275 with 17-plus home runs apiece. Matt Olson, 26 bombs, about a 345 on base. They've struggled a little bit with lefties thus far this season, so that's been hurting them a little bit, but Ozzy, Albies, he and Mauricio Dubon, both hitting about at 265, and for Albies, he's up to 14 home runs this season. Dom Smith continues to move the line, and on the other end, you got a Padres team that entered into Sunday dead sinking last in terms of run creation. They were able to put up that 19 spot, which helped them out against the Kansas City Royals, but you've got a lot of guys that just have not been able to move the line for the team. While Manny Machado has been able to give you 19 home runs, entered in the series hitting below the middle line of 200. Jackson Merrill, Gavin Sheets, these are guys they're hitting below at 225. Jake Cronenworth is hitting below at 200. Freddie Fermin has given you nothing whatsoever. Samad Taylor, when he's been out there, has been solid, but very small sample size there. Fernando Tatis, he's giving you a little bit more power now. 7 home runs, still not where he wants to be, but he is giving you about a 350 on base. And for the Padres, they've been a top 3 team in terms of bullpen ERA in the National League as well. Obviously, Baines Miller has been incredible for the team, but it goes past him. They do have Jason Adam right now dealing with an injury, but like Savani Peralta, Yuki Matsui, Bradley Rodriguez, they've been able to give you a sub-265 ERA. Audrey Morejon has been improved as well, so it's an interesting circumstance here because I do think that the Braves find a way to get the job done. We'll play up to minus 143 on the Braves, and I like the under. Somebody tell it at 8.8. 9:55, 9:56 on the card. The Metropolitans are on the road against the Brewers. Brandon Sproat is on the bump for the Crew, and Zach Thornton for the Mets. Mets are underdogs between plus 116 to a plus 125, minus 136 to a minus 150. That number on the Brewers, 8.5 is the total. Over is minus 120, and the under is even. And I do like the over. I did set my total at an 8.6 in the small sample size for Zach Thornton. Hasn't been too bad here for the New York Mets, but what are you really going to make out of 17 and a third innings? 260 ERA, right around about a 298 fielding dependent. He's getting about 7.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. You dive into what he was able to do at the minor league level this year, was posting up an ERA a little bit closer to a 4. He was getting 9.3 strikeouts, but was giving up about 4 walks per 9 innings, so do have to have a few question marks with regards to command. And Sproat, at this time last year, was actually pitching for the New York Mets, has been a struggle from 5.16 ERA, 5.11 fielding dependent, has looked better recently though. How about 5 earned runs allowed in his last 4 starts? I recognize that in 2 of those starts he went 4 innings or fewer, but still, he's been pitching a little bit better. The walks per 9 rate being a 4.3 is a little bit of a concern, but he now gets to go up against the Mets team that's averaging about 3.9 runs per game away from home. That is dead last in the National League in terms of run creation away from home. Juan Soto's been great. He's been able to give you 20-plus homers, right around about a 400 base, and Carson Bench has been better as well. Bench has been able to give you a double-figure amount of homers, but he's sort of been in and out of the lineup, was not in the starting lineup yesterday. Francisco Lindor has been a waste of money. Brett Beatty, they just got back Luis Robert. You've got a lot of guys hitting at 230 or lower, so man, it's been a little bit rough there. And then on the flip side of things, you've got a Brewers team that they just small ball you to death. Top 5 team in terms of run creation with about 5.1 runs per game. Jake Bauers leads away with 18 home runs, but I the likes of Garrett Mitchell, William Contreras, Bryce Terang, they're all give you over a 340 on base. And Christian Yelich hasn't even been good this year. You've got Jackson Trio give you a home run every about 21 or so at bats. He's hitting at 280. Cooper Pratt hasn't really given you a lot of power, but he's been able to move the line for the team as well. And for this Brewers bunch, they've been a top 6 team in terms of bullpen ERA as well. You've been able to have the likes of a Trevor McGill, Abder Uribe after rough starts to the season, lower their ERA to a sub 350. Chad Patrick's been a nice long guy. Grant Anderson hovers right around about a 350 with that ERA as well. And for the Mets, their bullpen is starting to regress a little bit. You still have to like what you've been able to get, the likes of Brooks Raley, AJ Minter, Oscar Brisbane, guys like this. But we've really seen Austin Warren at the toilet bowl recently. Luke Weaver's still solid, but Devin Williams is still Devin Williams. So to think that the Brewers get the job done here, set them at minus 153, taking them on the money line and the over. Semi-total at 8.6, 957, 958 on the card. The Nationals are going to be on the road against the Colorado Rockies, as you've got Miles Michaelis going for Washington, Michael Lorenzen for the Colorado Rockies. 12.5 is the total. Over is minus 115 to minus 120. Under is between even to minus 105, and Rockies are anywhere between minus 114 to a minus 116. Right around even money to minus 105 is that number on the Washington Nationals. Pretty much anything of even money or better, I'm going to be in on the Washington Nationals, so I'm taking them on the money line. For Michael Lorenzen, he's been a little bit better than what the ERA would indicate, but man, it's just hard to unsee an ERA of a 6.22, and He is giving up 1.3 home runs, 3.5 walks per 9 innings, but really not getting a lot of strikeouts. Hovering right around about 7 strikeouts per 9 innings, and he's been significantly worse when he's been at home this season as well. 7.78 ERA at home compared to a 5.04 ERA away from home. Meanwhile, for Miles Mikolas, they might throw an opener for him, so do be mindful if you see some sort of an opener like an Orlando or a Baltimore or something like that. They're still going with Miles Mikolas, and it's been a bad season for him as well. 5.53 ERA, 5.43 fielding dependent, 4.8 strikeouts per 9 innings, 1.9 home runs allowed per 9. So I do think that you get a big giant slugfest here. I'm going to be in on the over. I did set my total here at a 12.6, so wouldn't want to go to a 13 plus, but I mean, still, for Hunter Goodman, he has been a good man. He's been able to give you 30 home runs now. I will say he's actually at more home runs away from home rather than at home, but I mean, he has been highly effective for this team, and you've got guys moving the line. Cole Carrick, TJ Bromfield, Jake McCarthy, a whole bunch of guys hitting at 280 plus for this team. Willie Castro has been able to pick it up a little bit. Still need more out of the likes of Ezekiel Tovar at the bottom of the fold, but still, it's been a better Rockies team than we've seen in the past, and for the Washington Nationals entering this series numero uno, in terms of run creation, Luis Garcia, CJ Abrams, 20 plus home runs out of them. Curtis Mead is up to 17 home runs. He's giving you over a 340 on base. You need a little bit more out of Dylan Cruz, Andres Shapiro. They've been a little bit, shall we say, underwhelming as young prospects, but James Wood giving you good wood, 400 on base, 28 plus home runs, and this has been a bullpen that has been rough on really both sides of things. As Blas Castano is right now on the injury list for the Colorado Rockies. Juan Mejia, Victor Vodnik, they're posting up an ERA well above a 5. You've had Jimmy Herget look a little bit better since coming off the injury list, and Antonio Senzatella, better season out of him, but he's been regressing recently. And then for the Washington Nationals, having to put PJ Poulin and Brad Lord on the injured list from that bullpen, that's really been hurting them. As got Orlando Robalto, who's been able to give you a sub-4 ERA. Justin Lawrence has looked a little bit better recently, but Carson Palmquist over a 6 ERA, so do think they get a slugfest, and I just trust in this Nationals offense a little bit more. Even money or better, I'm going to be in on that money line, and I do like the over, so my total 12.7. 959, 960 on the card. It's the Guardians. They are going to be playing us to the Minnesota Twins, as we do know that Parker Messick is going to be on the bump for the Guardians. And for the Twins, it is all to be determined right now. We're only seeing one opener out there. Total of 8.5. Unders minus 120. The overs even for the Guardians, minus 148 on the money line, plus 126 for the Minnesota Twins. Right now, Fangraphs is projecting Jack Anderson getting the start for the Minnesota Twins. As a result, I saw the Guardians at a minus 184. So I'm going to be in on the Guardians on the money line. I am just a big believer in Parker Messick. He has been tremendous as far this season for Messick, getting just a hair below 9 strikeouts per 9 innings this season. 8.8 strikeouts at 2.9 walks per 9 innings. At 0.8 home runs per 9 has been great. 273 ERA, closer to a 329. Fielding independent, has had a few hiccups at home this far this season, but overall, I've been loving what I've been seeing out of him. And then for Jack Anderson, I believe that he got 1 or 2 cups of coffee at the big league level thus far. He has thrown 8 innings thus far, and he's been able to post up a 338 ERA. So this would be his MLB debut with regards to a start. He's done a little bit of long relief. You have to go back to the minor league level because he actually began his season with the Boston Red Sox. They shipped him off to the Minnesota Twins. I'm not sure when that trade happened, but that said, when he was part of the Boston Red Sox, 4.57 ERA. He was getting only about 7.7 strikeouts, 3.1 walks per 9, and 1.5 home runs per 9. Being out there in Worcester at the AAA level in the Independence League, that's not necessarily amazing to say the least. So I do have to have my question marks there. For the Minnesota Twins, they don't even back them up with a very good bullpen. For the Twins right now, this team is in the bottom 5 in terms of bullpen ERA. You've been able to get a little bit more out of someone like an Andrew Morris, but Anthony Band, Cody Lawyerson, Eric Orze is right now dealing with a little bit of injury. These guys have all been terrible in the bullpen as far as this season. Travis Adams, my gosh, that has not been great to say the least. And for the Twins, they're just really being hurt by the fact that Byron Buxton is currently out of the fold for this team as well, because Byron Buxton, 25 plus home runs, should be good to go in this series, so that helps out the Twins a little bit. They were averaging about 3.7 runs per game when he was out of the fold, but I think that Parker Messick is still going to be able to put on a massive show for the Cleveland Guardians as well. You had Cody Clemens now be able to give you 18 home runs. Doesn't hit for a world's greatest amount of average, but 240 is better than where it was last season. Luke Cashel has been able to move the line. He's giving you about a 330 on base. I do like what I've been seeing out of Trevor Larnach, Ryan Jeffers. These have been guys that have been able to give you over a 350 on base. It is a Twins team that's in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of their run creation, but you've got a Guardians team that's also now a top 8 team in terms of bullpen ERA as well. They were dealing with the injury to Tim Aaron, but Cade Smith, he's been able to give you sub 325 ERA. He's been a great closer. Eric Sabrowski about a 350 ERA. Do think that that's going to be going downward, and Hunter Gaddis, after a rough start to the season, he has been tremendous here over the last month plus, and Guardians, they themselves, in their last 37 games, are averaging fewer than 3.8 runs per game. Just see more out of some of these schlubs like Rhys Hoskins, Patrick Bailey, Daniel Schneemann, Gabriel Urias. You just go down the list of guys hitting a sub-225. Petey Halpin. That has not been great, to say the least. You do have the likes of a Brian Rocchio, who's been able to give you about a 340-ish on base. Chase Lauder, Travis Bazzana in that neighborhood as well. Not necessarily a ton of pop, but I think that they get to Anderson here. I actually do think that you get a lower scoring game. So I total 7.7, so on that 8.5, like the under and I'm in on the Guardians on the money line. It's not that bad, minus 184. 961, 962 on the card. The Rays are going to be on the road against the Blue Jays as Kevin Gausman goes for the Jays. For the Rays, it is one Mr. Drew Rasmussen, and for the Rays, they are minus 112 to minus 115 favorites. Minus 104 to minus 105 is that number on Toronto. 7.5 is the total over and under, both at minus 110, and I'm going to be willing to roll with the Rays here. I did set them here at a minus 115. Kevin Gausman just has not been great recently, and that's a big reason why I'm going to be in on this total to the over for Gausman. You just either get really good Kevin Gausman or you get really bad Kevin Gausman. He either gives up 0 or 1 runs or he gives up like a billion. There's really no in between with him, as he has given up now 6+ runs in 3 out of his last 5 starts. 4.33 ERA. Now the 3.65 fielding independent, point source positivity, 1.2 home runs, 2.6 walks allowed per 9 innings. But that's Kevin Gausman every single year. Every single year, his fielding independent is better than his ERA, and the positivity just never ever comes. He has been better at home, 3.50 home ERA compared to a 5.44 ERA away from home, but I'm willing to have faith in Drew Rasmussen here. He's been able to spy about a 3.26 ERA. The 3.36 fielding independent is great, as he's giving up 1.1 home runs, 1.5 walks per 9 innings. He's getting in that neighborhood about 9 strikeouts per 9 innings as well. He's been a little bit up there. Now for the Rays, they have been in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, but good news is Rasmussen, his ERA lowers to a 3.02 away from home. So even though you've got Cole Sulser give you over a 5 ERA, it's been an up and down season for someone like a Garrett Clevenger. You still have likes of a Brian Baker who's been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. Casey Lugumina along Cam Boozer have been pretty solid in a Rays uniform as well. And then with this Rays lineup, you've got a trio of guys that have just really been carrying the mail. Yandy Diaz, Jonathan Aranda, both above a 3.75 on base, both give you between 13 and 14 home runs, and then Junior Caminero, 13 home runs in his last 19 games. He's been able to supply over a 3.50 on base as well. Chandler Simpson, no home runs, but how about 23 stolen bases and hitting at 280? You'll love that. Richie Palacios is a guy that's able to move the line along Nick Fortes, and for the Blue Jays, they're second worst in the big leagues in terms of run creation. You've only got one guy with more than 10 home runs this season, Kazuma Okamoto with 22 home runs. I mean, you've got plenty of guys that move the line, get on base. I recognize that Jesus Sanchez is dealing with a little bit of an injury along with Yohendrick Pinago, but Nathan Lukes, Ernie Clement, they're hitting above a 285. Liger Jr., big down season for him, but still give you about a 340 on base. So they're getting on, and for the Blue Jays, it's not a bad bullpen. You've got Louis Varlin along with Tyler Rogers, who have been able to give you a sub-250 ERA. Mason Flaherty has been a little bit better recently as well. They got rid of Tommy Nance, so that helps them out. And someone like Lazardo Estrada has been pretty solid in a long relief role as well. But I do think that for the Tampa Bay Rays, they do get to Gausman here. I do think that they do their part with the over, and I do think that for the Blue Jays, being a top 3 team, there's a few strikeouts on a per at-bat basis is going to help them out a little bit here as well. So, like the over, so my total at 8.2, want to lay up to minus 114 on that Rays money line. 963, 964 on the card. It's the Orioles. They're going to be on the road against the Boston Red Sox. We do know that Kyle Bradish is going to be on the bump for Baltimore. Right now, the betting board reads to be determined for Boston, so I am not seeing any openers anywhere on this game. This should be Rangers Suarez. I know that he was dealing with a little bit of injury concern, and if you get Suarez, I'm willing to lay up to minus 146 with the Red Sox, plus 148 or better looking at the Orioles, and then set a total of an 8.2, 8 or less in on the over, 8.5 or higher to the under. It's a simple adjustment. If you don't end up getting Rangers Suarez, you're probably going to get some mix and match starter, a little bit of a bullpen game, more around about even money is what I'd be looking at with regards to Red Sox, and then 8.5 or less to the over, a 9 or higher to the under. Assuming that we do get Rangers Suarez, he has been very rock solid thus far this season, a 3.15 ERA, fielding dependent at 261, 0.5 home runs, 2.6 walks per 9 innings, so he has been tremendous there. He is a guy that has been on the injured list. His last start came in very, very early July, so they need to activate him off the injured list, so that's right now the big question mark with regards to this game, but I think that'll come back. He'll be fine. It's not necessarily a long injured list in. Meanwhile, for Kyle Bradish, he does have a respectable 3.61 ERA. The command has just been all over the place, so he's posting up about 4.2 walks per 9 innings, down to about 9 strikeouts per 9. Last 2 years, he was above 12 plus. Now, albeit it was a very small sample size, but still, that does have to have you a little bit concern there. And for the Orioles, the bullpen has been a little bit better recently. You've been able to have Yunier Cano along with Uncle Rico Garcia be able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Grant Wolfram hasn't been awful as well, but I still have some question marks here. Ryan Helsley is currently dealing with an injury. They put Keegan Aiken on the injury list, which that's not necessarily a bad thing at all. And for the Orioles, they've been in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of run creation away from home. Pete Alonso back up to 21 home runs, over a 340 on base. Gunnar Anderson supplied 17 home runs, but less than a 300 on base. And then you've got a lot of guys that just aren't hitting for any sort of average whatsoever. Sam Huff, Tyler O'Neill, Kobe Bale, Jackson Holiday. These are guys hitting a 225 or lower, so you need a little bit more there. I will say for Kobe Bale, 13 home runs, but when you're hitting a $1.99, that's an issue. And for the Red Sox, they entered into the second half of the season actually dead last in terms of run creation at home with about 3.55 runs per game. Knew that those home and road splits would iron out a little bit. Wilson Contreras, 22 bombs, 380 on base. Weiler Abreu has been able to while out 15 home runs, and you've got a lot of guys like he, along with Anthony Siegler, Ceddanne Rafaela, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, Masataka Yoshida, between about a 325 to a 345 on base. So I like what they're doing there. And for the Red Sox, this team has been numero uno in terms of bullpen ERA. This is despite the fact that they've dealt with a few injuries. Like, Tyler Semenijo was really nice to start the season. He's currently out, but Garrett Whitlock, Giovanni Moore, and Teran Guerrero, they've been able to give you sub 350 ERA. Aroldis Chapman continues to get the job done at the closer's role. So if you get Rangers Suarez 1 to minus 146 with the Red Sox plus 148 or better, looking at the Orioles, and then 8 or less and on the over, 8.5 or higher or the under. Now Rangers Suarez, pretty much pick 'em game, 8.5 or less to the over, 9 or higher to the under. 965, 966 on the card. The White Sox are going to be on the road against the Rangers. Coomer Rocker goes for the Rangers. Noah Schultz should be the starter for the White Sox. Have a little bit of TBD out there on the board, so this game is currently off the board, and be mindful as well. The Rangers, if they do go with Coomer Rocker in this game, they might be going with an opener as well. But that said, if you do get Rocker against Schultz, I did set the Rangers where I'm all the way up to minus 133 there, plus 135 or better. The White Sox, and then set it to over an 8.7, 8.5 or less. Going to be in on the over, a 9 or higher to the under. For Noah Schultz, I do think that he's got a lot of upside and a lot of potential, but man, he's been giving up over 5 walks per 9 innings. That really has to have you questioning things with him. And he's a guy that right now has a 5.60 ERA compared to about 5.27 fielding dependent. The 8 straight cuts per 9 innings show a little bit of upside, but he's also given up about 1.4 home runs per 9 innings. For Coomer Rocker, he's always been significantly better when he's been at home rather than away from home. Overall for the season, 4.40 ERA, 4.29 fielding dependent. Really doesn't give up too much of the deep ball with about 1.2 home runs per 9 innings, but the 3.4 walks, 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, that's costing him a little bit. But again, 3.94 career home ERA for Coomer Rocker with 1 home run allowed per 9 innings, closer to about 1.6 or 1.7 home runs per 9 innings away from him. 6.03 ERA. Arlington is one of the best ballparks in all baseball in terms of suppressing offense. You do have a White Sox team that has a trio of guys, Montaki Murakami, Colts Montgomery, Miguel Vargas, who have all been able to supply at least 20 home runs thus far this season. And Sam Antonassi is doing a really good job moving the line. He's been able to give you about a 380 on base. You've been able to have Colson Montgomery be able to give you not necessarily a lot in terms of average, but you've got the other guys for this team. And Bryson Montgomery, ironically enough. You've had Tristan Peters, along with Chase Meadroth, be able to give you over a 340 on base. So these guys are moving the line. I do think that Kyle Teal is going to be able to pick it up after dealing with injury at the catcher spot. And then for the Rangers, you've got Jake Berger, Jock Peterson with 16 home runs apiece. Peterson does a good job in terms of giving you about a 340 or so on base. Berger not really giving you a lot of on base, but you've got other guys here moving the line. You need a little bit more power of this team, but I like some Brandon Nimmo, Ezekiel Duran, have been able to hit about a 265. Elias Diaz in a small sample size has been solid. Nicky Lopez hitting above 300. Josh Young is hitting about a 290. Now the Rangers, they've been a bottom 8 team in terms of bullpen ERA over the last, we're going to call it about 45 or so days. They've been dealing with an injury to Chris Martin. They do have Jacob Junis, Jacob Latz. They were dealing with a few injuries, I believe, with Junis, so that helps you out. Tyler Alexander's giving you a sub 350 ERA. Peyton Gray has been presentable as well, and don't look now, but the Chicago White Sox, they've been a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA over the last about 45 or so days. Jordan Exter, Anthony Dominguez are not trustworthy, but Brian Hudson, John Newcomb, Grant Taylor, these guys are giving you a sub 350 ERA, but hard to really trust in both of these starters. So minus 133 or better, looking at the Rangers, plus 135 or better, the White Sox, in half or less, and on the over 9 or higher, the under. 967, 968 on the card. It's the Pirates. They're going to be on the road against the New York Yankees. Will Warren goes for the Yanks. Bubba Chandler for the Pirates. Pirates plus 123 to a plus 132 underdog. Minus 145 to minus 156 as that number on the Yankees. 9 is a total. Over and under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115. And I did set the Yankees here at a minus 142. So this will be based upon a little bit of late night line movement. I do think that when it's all said and done, I should be able to get closer to about a minus 140 on the Yankees. Again, we'll see where that goes, but minus 141 or better, I will be in on the Yankees on the money line, as Will Warren, in my opinion, has been a relatively solid pitcher. I recognize that he gives up the deep ball way more when he's at home rather than away from home, but still, he's been able to give you some relatively good swing and miss this season. He's giving up 1.3 home runs, 3 walks per 9 innings, but combines that with about 8.8 strikeouts per 9, 4.03 ERA, 4.10 fielding dependent. Did act up a little bit towards the back half of the first half, gave up 5+ runs in 3 out of his last 5 starts, and you do have a bunch in the Pittsburgh Pirates that they have been tremendous with their offense. They are currently second in the big leagues in terms of overall run creation. Brandon Lau has been able to get very loud for this team with 21 home runs. I mean, they've been dealing with the O'Neal Cruz injury for a very long time, and yet they're still doing a nice job supplying offense because Ryan O'Hearn gives you about a 350 on base with 16 home runs. Brian Reynolds darn near 400 on base. Nick Gonzalez, Esmeralda Valdez. These guys have been able to hit a 300 plus, and then for the Yankees, without Aaron Judge in the fold, last 23 games going into yesterday, averaging less than 3.4 runs per game. Ben Rice has still been solid, 29 home runs. He's giving you over a 370 on base, but I mean, the rest of these guys, Paul Goldschmidt has toilet bowled recently. He and Cody Bellinger hitting about a 255 to a 260 entering in the day on Tuesday, but they have not been themselves recently. Yasan Dominguez, the entirety of the catcher spot, Ryan McMahon. You're not getting much out of these guys whatsoever. Now for the Yankees, their saving grace has been the bullpen. This team is currently numero uno in terms of bullpen ERA. David Bednar has not been pooping the Bednar. Brent Hendrick, Paul Blackburn. You've got so many guys who've been able to give you a sub 325 ERA. And for the Pittsburgh Pirates, this team is in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. It was so bad for Justin Lawrence, they had to DFA him. Dennis Santana over a 4 ERA. You don't mess with Yohan Ramirez has actually been solid, but Brandon Eisert, they picked him up from the White Sox. Don't really have a lot of faith in him, so it's an interesting circumstance because with Bubba Chandler, I really think that he's got a lot of upside. Man, he needs to find a way to be able to have a little bit more command, and it's not like he's getting a whole bunch of strikeouts or anything like that. Right around about 8.1 strikeouts per 9 innings, and has been giving up 5.2 walks per 9 innings, so 4.77 ERA, 4.58 fielding dependent, albeit he has given up 2 earned runs or fewer in 3 out of his last 5 starts, but I do think that that's going to be a little bit rough for him. So if we can find a minus 141 or better on the Yankees, we'll be laying it with them, and I do like the 9 under, so I told it at 8.8, 969, 970 on the card. The Giants are going to be on the road against the Royals as Lou Inder Avila goes for the Royals and Tyler Mahle for the Giants. 9.5 is the total, over and under, anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115, and with the Kansas City Royals, they're between minus 114 to a minus 116. Meanwhile, you're getting about minus 102 to minus 110 on the San Francisco Giants, and I'm willing to go to a minus 110 with the Royals. Tyler Mahle just has not been good this far this season. Actually had a really nice season last year with the Walker Texas Rangers, but I think that was a little bit of a byproduct, pitching in one of the best pitcher environments in all of baseball. 5.31 ERA, 1.4 home runs allowed per 9 innings. He is getting about 8.4 strikeouts per 9, but man, things have just not been the same for him this far this season. 3.7 walks per 9 has been a big giant issue, and he's up to an 8.45 ERA away from home. 8.45 compared to a 3 at home. So that shows you how much he needs a pitcher-friendly ballpark. Meanwhile, for Lou Inder Avila, the command has not been there, to say the least. He's right now got a 5.08 ERA, 4.56 fielding dependent with 5.4 walks per 9 innings. I will say, he had that one start where he gave up 8 runs in 2/3 of an inning. You take that out of the fold, and I'm not saying that he's a Mona Lisa Vito of pitching or anything like that, but you're looking at something with him. He has been able to give you only about 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he keeps the ball in the yard. He's giving up only about 1 home run per 9 innings, and considering the fact that they moved the fences in at Kauffman Stadium, that's not necessarily too bad, and with factoring out that absolutely terrible start, he'd be down to about a 3.86 ERA. Again, not lighting the world on fire, but well, it's a lot better than what you're getting on this Royals bullpen. As you've got so many of these guys like Alex Lang, Matt Strom, Lucas Ursich, who are posting up an ERA well above a 4.75. You've been able to have Daniel Lynch be able to give you some solid innings, but for the Royals, bottom 16 in terms of bullpen ERA, the Carlos Estevez injury has just absolutely destroyed them. And then when it comes to the San Francisco Giants, they themselves are down to the bottom 10 in terms of bullpen ERA. Caleb Killian has been really acting up. You've got he and Eric Miller both supplying above a 3.50 ERA. Dylan Smith has had his issues. Good news is you're getting back Keaton Wynn. He's been very solid for this team. He and JT Brubaker, sub 3.50 ERA. I like what I've seen out of Sam Entges as well. And for the Giants, offense has been a little bit better recently, but still bottom 8 team in terms of run creation. Rafael Devers is actually up to 20 home runs. You could use a little bit more than the 311 on base, but he is up to 20 home runs and also 120 strikeouts. So there's that. William Thomas, 17 bombs, but a 280 on base. These guys just really don't draw a lot of walks, but you do have a pair of guys, Jungle Lee along with Luis Rise, hitting at 300 plus. Bryce Eldridge, Eloy Ramos have been hitting in the neighborhood of a 275, and Casey Schmidt, 19 bombs. He's been relatively solid. For the Royals, they have been significantly better with their offense when they've been at home rather than away from home. For the Royals right now, they are dead sinking last in terms of run creation away from home. Goes for about 4.8 runs per game at home. Once again, big byproduct of the fact that they moved the fences in at Kauffman Stadium, and Jack Caglione has really picked it up. 16 home runs. He's been able to about a 265 for the team. Carter Jensen is up to 13 bombs, hitting just below a 250. Bobby Witt Jr. maybe not the most amount of home runs, but 30 stolen bags, 350 on base. And Salvador Perez, 256 on base with 12 home runs. You just need a little bit more there. Vinny Pasquantino has been disappointing. Lane Thomas does give you about a 340 on base. Isaac Collins moved the line, but they don't give you a lot of pop. They don't give you a lot of average. So, interesting circumstance here. Do like the over, so by total of 9.8. And for the Royals, 1 up to minus 110 on the money line. 971, 972 on the card. It's the Cubs, and they're going to be playing us to the Detroit Tigers, as Framber Valdez is going to be on the bump for the Tigers, and Mr. David Peterson, great name, he goes for the Chicago Cubs. Right now, the opening total I'm seeing is an 8.5, and the under is minus 115, the over is minus 105, minus 108 on both sides, and I said a total of 7.2. I'm in on the under. Like, for Tuesday, the wind is going to be blowing in at more than 10 miles per hour. These are going to be miserable hitting conditions, and I happen to think that David Peterson is doing for some positivity. Like, I've been burnt on him before. I'm sure that I will be again. Maybe it's just my last name, but I mean, he's been much better than the 6.45 ERA would indicate. He's got a 4.28 fielding dependent. He's giving up 1 home run per 9 innings, albeit 4 walks and 7.7 punch-outs per 9. That's not necessarily great, but that start where he gave up the 10th spot against the St. Louis Cardinals was really an ERA booster, and I think that he does an okay job holding down a Tigers team that has been a bottom 10 team in terms of run creation. Riley Green, Kevin McGonigal, these guys have been able to give you over 375 on base, but having Gleyber Torres out, having a few of these other mix and match guys, even like a Parker Meadows out, has been hurting them, and I mean, this bottom of the fold, Zach McKinstry, Kerry Carpenter, James Heltman, Matt Vierling, throw in there Jake Rogers, all these guys hitting at 225 or lower has been an issue, and while Spencer Torkelson has 18 home runs, he's hitting at 207 as well. Dylan Dingler's been great, 19 home runs, about a 260 batting average, but still, you've had some issues at the bottom of the fold. Meanwhile, for the Cubs, they are a top 8 team in terms of run creation. You're starting to get a little bit more out of Alex Bregman. It's been a miserable season for him, but he's been a little bit better here. Say Suzuki, Dansby Swanson, Ian Happ, all between 15 and 17 home runs. Swanson's still not great in terms of getting on base, but it's been better for him recently. Peter Armstrong, really ever since he told off that fan, he has been absolutely incredible. Over a 375 on base, 21 home runs overall for the season. But again, offense is going to be very much suppressed here for the Cubs. They've fallen to be about a league average team with their bullpen areas. So many guys are on the injury list. Hobie Milner, Phil Matone, Riley Martin, along with Daniel Palencia on the injury list. So you've got Jacob Webb, Trent Thornton. These guys have been pretty solid. Gavin Hollowell is a guy that I actually trust in a little bit as well. So I do think that these guys are going to be able to go out there and hold down the fort. And on the flip side, you got a bunch in the Detroit Tigers that have actually been really good with their bullpen recently. They've been a top 8 team in terms of bullpen ERA really over the last 60 or so days. Tyler Holden being able to give you a sub 325 ERA again has been solid. We've seen Drew Summers act up a little bit, and Will Vest going on the injury list. That's not a bad thing. He has not been good. I don't trust in Kenley Jansen, but I do trust in Kyle Finnegan, who's been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. Now you're getting some of these guys off the injury list as well, like a Brendan Hennefy. But that said, I do think that the Cubs should be a very slim favorite here. Framber Valdez has just been all over the place this far this season. He probably did not want to leave Houston to start with. He's been giving up only about 1 home run per 9 innings, actually closer to 0.9, but strikeout numbers are way down. 7.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, giving up over 3 walks per 9 with his 4.10 ERA, fielding dependent, relatively in line with that. So, like the under, so I told 7.2, and with the Tigers, I made them the slim underdog here, so I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the Cubs on the money line. 973, 974 on the card. The Marlins are going to be on the road against the Astros. Tatsuya Amai is on the bump for the Astros. Tyler Phillips goes for Miami. Miami is a underdog here between plus 110 to a plus 116. Meanwhile, minus 130 to minus 135, that number on Houston. 8.5 to 9 is the total on the 8.5. Over is minus 120, the under is even on the 9. Under is minus 115, the over is minus 105. For the Astros, I can only set them at a minus 119. When it's all said and done, I should be able to get a plus 120 on the Miami Marlins, and that will put me on the Marlins on the money line. For Tetsuya Amai, it's just been really inconsistent for him, to say the least. I do think that there's maybe a little bit of upside with him because the strikeout stuff has been been really good. For MI, his strikeouts per 9 rate is about 10.9, but 5.7 walks per 9 innings, and it really looked like he turned the corner when he was a part of that, shall we say, a combined no-hitter. I think they pitched 6 shutout innings there. He had a few starts in like super late May, early June, where it felt like, all right, he's starting to really find his form, and ever since then he has given up 3+ runs in 3 out of his last 5 starts. It's just been all sorts of inconsistent, to say the least. And for the Astros, the good news is they've been a top 3 team in terms of bullpen ERA since June 1st. Getting back Josh Hader has been massive for this team. AJ Bluebaugh has actually been a relatively solid long guy, but did not necessarily get what they were hoping for out of Ronald Blanco from a length standpoint yesterday. They are dealing with a few injuries in that bullpen as well, so that's really been hampering them. And additionally, for the Astros, it's a little bit of a top-heavy lineup. Yordan Alvarez, 31 home runs, has been amazing. He's been able to give you a 400+ on base. Christian Walker has been able to give you 20+ home runs as well, but right now he's day-to-day. Jeremy Pena has been hitting darn near 300, but he doesn't necessarily give you a lot of pop. And then these just random mix-and-match guys like Cam Smith, Lamont Wade Jr., Zach Cole, Zach DeZenzo. I know that he's on the injury list, but Bryce Matthews, these like random outfielders have been hitting at 230 or lower with nobody other than Smith providing any power whatsoever. And for the Marlins, they just small ball you to death. Bottom 7 team in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis, but Alberto Hernandez, Owen Casey, Kyle Stowers, Liam Hicks, all between 12 and 13 home runs. Really, nobody other than Hicks gives you above a 340 on base and above a 250 average, but these guys have really picked it up recently. You get so many stolen bases. Esteury Ruiz, 20 stolen bags. Jacob Mercy needs to hit better than 196, but 19 stolen bags. You've had a lot of these guys be able to just blossom as well. Now, Otto Lopez is right now dealing with a little bit of an injury, so you do have to be mindful of that. And for Tyler Phillips, I do have to have my trepidations with him a little bit as well. He's done a nice job stepping into a starter's role, but I do think that there's a bit of regression doing for that 3.48 ERA. He keeps the ball in the yard, giving up about 1 home run per 9 innings, but he has been giving up 4+ walks per 9 innings. His strikeouts per 9 rate is below 7.5, and he has been quite the same pitcher away from home. As a matter of fact, a 6.53 ERA away from home compared to a 1.41 ERA at home, but still, even with that, I'm going to be willing to take a shot here on the Marlins at a +120 or better on the money line, and I set my total at 8.8. Personally, I would rather have an 8.5 to the over rather than a 9 to the under. 975, 976 on the card. It's the Cardinals. They're going to be on the road against the Angels. Valdeyareñez on the bump for the Halos, and Mr. Matthew Liberatore goes for the Cardinals. Cardinals do find themselves here in a relative pick'em game. They're a slim favorite between -110 to a -115, -104 to a -105 for the Angels. 9 is the total. Under is -120. The over is even. Seeing some 8.5s. Over is -120, and the under is even money. And this is all going to be based upon who becomes really that plus money underdog. As I did set the Cardinals at a -104, so if we can get like a +105 here with the LA Angels, which I think when it's all said and done, we should be able to get a little bit of plus money here on the Angels. I would be willing to take a shot there. I've been liking a lot of what I've been seeing out of this Cardinals team. I have not been liking Matthew Liberatore. Right now, he's got a 5 ERA. The command just has not been there thus far this season. 3.5 walks, 1.6 home runs, allowed per 9 innings. Swing and miss stuff is up a little bit, about 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. Now, he does benefit from the fact that the Angels have been a bottom 6 team in terms of run creation at home. They're creating fewer than 4 runs per game at home this season, but now you've got Mike Trout back. He's been able to give you 18 home runs over a 375 on base, and even though he doesn't necessarily do the world's greatest job in terms of moving the line, Zach Neto has been able to give you 19 home runs this season. Nolan Schunel above a 340 on base. Denzar Guzman, Vaughn Grisham, these are guys hitting about a 250. Josh Lowe has been miserable, but Wayne Meckler has actually been solid for the team. Jose Siri's been able to give you some good at-bats, and with this Angels bullpen, it's still not good. Like, the Angels bullpen is never, ever, ever going to be good, but at the same time, it's been a little bit more presentable. Kirby Yates has been able to give you some solid innings, a sub-380 ERA. Same goes for Mitch Ferris, a long guy, Chase Silseth, Jose Fermin. These guys are okay, and Valdeyareñez has really been the shining star for this team. Now, the walks are an issue. He's given up darn near 5 walks per 9 innings, but about 8.6 strikeouts per 9. He's giving up 0.6 home runs per 9 innings, so you do love to see that. It's just hard to really be able to trust in the LA Angels unless if I get plus money, though. So, again, I'm leaning towards the LA Angels. I think I get that plus 105, but let's say that the Cardinals come down to like a -103, -104, we'll be landing there. But that said, I do anticipate when it's all said and done, being able to get that plus money on the Angels, especially with the Cardinals being second in the big leagues in terms of run creation away from home with about 5.5 runs per game. Jordan Walker, 20+ home runs. He's been able to about a 285. Ivan Herrera has been giving you an on-base percentage of a 400+ away from home. J.J. Weatherholt over a 340 on base, 14 home runs. Alec Burleson, 15 bombs. Need a little bit more on some of these guys like a Blaze Jordan and company at the bottom of the fold, but still, rock solid team. So plus 105 or better, going to be in on the Angels. That's what I'm anticipating. And set a 12 and 8.7. Personally, would rather have an 8.5 to the over rather than a 9 to the under. 977, 978 on the card. The Athletics are going to be on the road against the Diamondbacks. We do know that it's going to be Jack Perkins for the Athletics. Right now, it is old to be determined on the bump for the Arizona Diamondbacks. So this is a game that's presently off the board. And old Fangraphs is projecting that the Arizona Diamondbacks are going to be throwing Cole Drake. And if you do get Cole Drake here, I set the Diamondbacks at a minus 128. I'd be willing to lay up to minus 127 there, plus 129 or better looking at the Athletics. And then set a total of 9.3, a 9 or less to the over, a 9.5 higher to the under. Let's talk about the known first with Jack Perkins, because right now Cole Drake is a big giant TBD, and it's not going to vary too much whether you get Cole Drake or not. Like, even if you throw a bullpen game with maybe like Drake Jemison as a long guy or something like that, I'm not going to be changing my numbers too much here. But that said, for Jack Perkins, he's pitched better than the 6.87 ERA, 4.42 fielding dependent. He's getting 11.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, 1.6 home runs per 9 innings. Yeah, that's been a little bit rough, but he's also been one of the deficitaries, because you got beneficiaries and then you got deficitaries of the fact that he's been pitching in Sacramento this year. His ERA is about 1.3 points higher when he's at home rather than away from home, like 3 home runs in 23 and 2/3 innings when he's been away from home. I'm not saying that's amazing or anything like that, but there is a little bit of upside there. And if you do get Cole Drake, this would be his first career start, and he has posted up a 6.92 ERA at AAA Reno this far this season. It's been a little bit better for them recently, but man, not great to say the least. And the Arizona Diamondbacks are really just running out of options right now. Merrill Kelly's been awful. Zach Gallen's been awful. Like, Cole Drake is not too much of a downgrade from Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly at this point. Like, man, those guys have been rough. But that said, for the Arizona Diamondbacks, you are starting to get a little bit more pop out of this team. That big comeback on Sunday was able to help them out. Ketel Marte of the Marte Party has been able to give you 17 home runs. He's hitting about a 260. Gabriel Moreno's all of a sudden hitting a 300. You've had Geraldo Perdomo be able to move line, give you about a 350 on base. Now you need some of these guys like Tommy Troy, Tim Tewa, guys like that, Ore Barosa, who have been hitting at 225 or lower to pick it up a little bit. But Ryan Waldschmidt has been able to move line as well. And then on the flip side for the Athletics, they're still without Nick Kurtz, but Shea Langeliers, Shea is banged for 22 home runs. And Tyler Soderstrom, when he's been out there on the field since the month of June, he's been posting up over 350 on base. He's now got 16 home runs for the season. You've been having a few of these guys like a Carlos Cortez be able to give you about a 350 on base. Jacob Wilson is back. He's hitting above a 285. Henry Bolte has been a little bit rough recently. Its entire Athletics bullpen has been rough to say the least. Like, Hogan Harris has been able to give you a sub 350 ERA, but Luis Medina, Jose Suarez, Elvis Alvarado, Mark Leiter Jr., these are not trustworthy guys. Justin Turner's on the injury list, and Junior Tour, he's currently got a 27 ERA going into Monday because he was a part of that game where they lost 23-4, and he gave up 6 runs in 2 innings in his MLB debut, and now they're relying upon him for innings. That's not a place where you want to be. Meanwhile, for the Arizona Diamondbacks, I still don't really trust in Paul Sewald whatsoever, but these mix and match bullpen guys like a Taylor Clark, Juan Murillo, Kevin Ginkel, even Braden Garcia, they've all been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. So it's an interesting circumstance here. 9 or less, I'm in on the over 9.5 higher the under, with it being pretty much anyone for the Diamondbacks, minus 127 or better, looking there, plus 129 or better. The Athletics then wrap things up with 979, 980. The Reds, yes, we're on to Cincinnati. They're under the road, facing off against the Miami Marlins, as we do know that Luis Castillo is on the bump for the Seattle, and Chase Burns for the Reds. Reds are between minus 102 to a minus 106, minus 110 to a minus 116 is that number on Seattle, with a total of 7.5, over and under both at minus 110. And give me a shot here on the Cincinnati Reds. I set them at a minus 132. I've absolutely loved what I've seen out of Chase Burns thus far this season. He's been getting about 10.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. Recognize that the fielding dependence is a bit up from that 254 ERA, more of a 340 fielding dependence. He's been giving up 1.1 home runs per 9 innings, but this has been a Seattle Mariners team that's been averaging just a hair above 4 runs per game. That's a bottom 5 mark in all baseball. Cal Raleigh has been probably the biggest disappointment in all baseball this far this season. He's hitting below $175 with a single-digit amount of homers. You've been able to get a little bit more on some of these guys like Dom Canzone, Julio Rodriguez, Cole Young. These guys have been able to give you between about 13 to 15 home runs, and J.B. Crawford has 10 home runs. He's been able to give you over a 325 on base, but I think for just a 215 average, you've had Randy Arozarena not give you a ton of power, but he's giving you about a 375 on base. But now they're trotting out there some of these guys like Buddy Kennedy and company, having a few of the injuries that they've been having have been really hurting them, as Brandon Donovan being out of the fold has been hurting the team. And for the Reds. Ellie De La Cruz has really been able to ignite some life in this offense as he, Spencer Steer, J.J. Bleday are all up to 16 home runs. De La Cruz, double-figure amount of stolen bases, over a 340 on base. Cousin Sal Stewart has been up to 20 home runs. Bottom of the fold, still leaving something to be desired, and that's a big reason why I'm going to be in on this total to the under as well. Likes of Brian Hayes, TJ Friedel, the entirety of the catcher spot, though Tyler Stevenson has been much better recently. I've not necessarily given you a lot, and Eugenio Suarez, he's hitting about a 210 after he was so good for the Seattle Mariners last season. And for Luis Castillo, it's just been a little bit of a doomsday season for him. I do think that he's doing for positivity, and if you look at the fielding independent numbers, they indicate that 416 fielding independent compared to a 493. He's given up about like 1.2 home runs per 9 innings, but he's honestly not been awful with the walks, 3 walks per 9. The strikeout stuff is down with about 8.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, but I do think that there's a little bit of positivity here for him, so like the under, so I might tell 7.2. And for the Reds, I set them at a minus 132. I'm in on that money line, and that'll wrap things up for the Tuesday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. Big thanks to Chris Cichon, who does such great work over at WBAL in Baltimore, for joining me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, largely name does not matter, so per usual, please do send these into the timeline. Other ways, find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like here on this podcast, find that 5-star review. I'm with you guys every single day, giving you picks and analysis on every game, every day, so I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.